Nonso, a wealthy young man who lived in the busy city of Lagos. He had just married Amaka, a beautiful and kind lady from a very poor family. After the wedding, they moved into a big house in Lekki, one of the finest parts of Lagos. Life was good. Amaka was quiet at first, still trying to believe her new life was real. One evening, as they sat on the balcony, Amaka held Noso's hand and said softly, "Noso, I want to thank you." He turned to her and smiled. For what? She looked into his eyes, her own eyes filled with emotion. For everything, for choosing me, for bringing me out of the life I thought I would never escape. Nonso listened quietly. My family has been poor for as long as anyone can remember. She continued. From my great grandparents to my parents, we have always struggled. It's like poverty followed us from one generation to the next. I used to think I would live the same way all my life. She paused, holding back tears. But you changed it. You didn't just marry me. You gave me a new life. You broke the chain of suffering that followed my family for years. I will never forget what you have done for me. Noso squeezed her hand gently. Amaka, I didn't marry you to save you. I married you because I love you. Your past doesn't matter to me. What matters is our future, and we will build a good one together. Amaka smiled, tears of joy in her eyes. For the first time in her life, she felt truly safe, truly loved, and full of hope. Life was going smoothly for Nonso and his wife Amaka. They had lived peacefully and happily for 6 months after their marriage. Nonso continued to do well in his business. But one night, something unexpected happened. Nonso was sitting in the living room when his phone rang. He picked it up and answered the call. Immediately after hearing what the person said, he shouted, "Jesus," and screamed loudly. Amaka rushed out from the kitchen, very frightened. "Nonso, what is it? What happened?" she asked, her voice shaking. With tears already gathering in his eyes, Nonso looked at her and said, "My goose. They just told me that the container carrying all my goods sank in the sea. Everything is gone." Amaka was shocked. She didn't know what to say at first. Her mouth was open, but no words came out. Then she slowly walked to where her husband sat and knelt down beside him. "Nonso, please don't cry," she said softly, holding his hand. "There is a reason for everything. God knows why this happened." Nonso couldn't hold back his tears. He cried bitterly, holding his head with both hands. "This is all I have, Amaka. I invested everything in those goods." Amaka wiped his tears. "We will rise again. You are a strong man. Don't let this break you. I believe God has a better plan for us." Even though her heart was also heavy, Amaka stayed strong for her husband. She continued to comfort him, whispering words of encouragement until he slowly calmed down. That day marked the beginning of a new challenge in their marriage, but also a test of their love and strength. After Nonso lost his goods in the sea, he was no longer himself. Every night he had trouble sleeping. He would lie on the bed staring at the ceiling, thinking deeply. His heart was heavy, and his mind was filled with many questions and fears. One night, while Amaka was sleeping beside him, Noso sat up quietly and began to think. Could Amaka's poor background be the reason for all this? He wondered. Or is there something I don't know about her? Could she be a witch? He shook his head slowly. Since I started business, I have never faced this kind of loss before. Everything always went well for me. How can millions of goods just disappear in only 6 months of marriage? This has never happened to me before. He looked at Amaka and frowned. If I had known about her family poverty history, I wouldn't have married her. I was just attracted to her beauty. That was my mistake. If I didn't travel home last Christmas, I wouldn't have met her at all, let alone marry her. Nonso let out a deep sigh full of pain and regret. Slowly, he laid back on the bed, still troubled in his heart. He turned his face away from Amaka and closed his eyes. Even though he tried to sleep, his mind was still filled with confusion and doubt. Life continued, but not the way Nonso had expected. His business, which once moved smoothly and brought in millions, started to go down. Every day, he would go to his shop early in the morning and sit there till late in the night, yet he wouldn't sell a single thing. At first, he thought it was just a normal bad season, but when it continued for months, he began to worry deeply. Nonso would sit alone in the shop, staring into space, thinking about how everything started going wrong just after he got married to Amaka. He loved her, but the pain of losing his wealth was too much to bear. He began to wonder again, could Amaka be the reason for all this? Could it be her background or something spiritual from her family? These thoughts started building silent anger in his heart. Little by little, Nonso started developing hatred towards his beautiful wife. He stopped talking to her like before. He no longer smiled or laughed with her. Sometimes, when he was too angry, he would even blame her directly and said, "Since you entered my life, everything has been falling apart." Amaka would hold back her tears and try to stay strong. But when she was alone, she would cry secretly and didn't know what she had done wrong. She would go down on her knees, tears running down her face, and pray, "Oh God, please bless my husband. Please help us. Let there be peace in my home." One quiet afternoon, as Nonso sat alone in his empty shop with his chin resting on his hand, his friend Izuna suddenly walked in. The moment Nonso saw him, his face lighted up with a smile. "Ah, Izuna, my guy. Long time," he shouted, standing up to hug him. He was very happy to see his longtime friend. It had been a while since he visited him. But as Izuna looked around the shop, his smile quickly faded. He was shocked by what he saw. The once busy shop that used to be full of goods and customers now looked empty and dried. "No, so what happened?" Izuna asked in surprise. "Why does your almighty shop look like this?" Nonso took a deep breath and sat down again. "My brother, it's a long story. Since I got married to Amaka, things has been falling apart. Business is no longer moving. I come here every day and stay till light without selling anything." Izuna's eyes widened. Wait, you mean to tell me that all this has been happening just few months after your wedding?" "Yes," Noso replied softly. "And you still allow her to stay in your house?" Izuna asked again, confused. "You didn't chase her away? You didn't even suspect her from the beginning?" Noso looked down at the floor and said slowly, "I've been having those thoughts, Izuna, many times. I have even blamed her in I have even blamed her myself. But I love my wife. She is so beautiful and kind for me to just throw her away like that. I don't know what to do." Izuna came closer to Nonso, lowered his voice and said, "Forget her beauty and kindness. Some women are bad luck when it comes to marriage. Nonso, you are my friend and I can't just sit down and watch evil befall you. You better send her away before the worst even happens. Or do you want to end up in poverty just because of love?" Nonso shook his head slowly, full of thoughts. He looked down at the floor. Izuna continued, "Better do anything you can as soon as possible for her to live your life. Then you will see how things will start working again for you. Just try it and watch." Noso nodded quietly and said, "I will take action immediately." After a while, as Izuna stood to leave, he placed his hand on Noso's shoulder and said, Think well, my friend. This is your life we are talking about. Don't wait until things get worse. He walked out of the shop slowly, leaving Noso in deep thought. After that day, Noso's attitude towards Amaka became even worse. He would look at her with anger and disgust, as if she was the cause of all his problems. One evening, as Amaka brought food to him, Noso pushed the plate away and shouted, "Don't bring that nonsense to me again. You think I don't know what you are doing. You are trying to infect me with your generational poverty." Amaka's eyes filled with tears. She knelt down beside him and said in a shaky voice, "Nonso, please, our problem has nothing to do with my family." But Nonso jumped to his feet and shouted, "Shut up! You think I don't know you are a witch? You used your beauty to deceive me into marrying a poverty-stricken woman like you. You are bad luck, Amaka. Since you entered my life, everything has fallen apart." Amaka began to cry uncontrollably, holding her chest in pain, not knowing what to say or do. Her heart was broken, but she remained silent. Noso walked up to her, looked at her with hatred in his eyes, and spit on her. "I regret ever marrying you," he said coldly. Then he turned and walked away, leaving Amaka on the floor, crying in silence, her heart full of pain and confusion. Amaka could no longer sleep at night. Every night she stayed awake, crying and praying to God. With tears in her eyes, she begged God to bless her husband again and bring back the peace they once had in their home. One morning, Amaka started feeling sick. She was always tired and certain smells made her feel like vomiting. Later on, she discovered that she is pregnant. "Oh, I am pregnant," she said with a big smile. "Thank you, God." Her heart was full of happiness. She believed that her pregnancy would change everything. She believes that the news would touch Nonso's heart and bring love back into their marriage. That evening, when Nonso returned home, Amaka rushed to him happily. "Nonso, I have something to tell you," she said, trying to hold his hand. He pulled his hand away. "What is it?" he said with no emotion. "I am pregnant," Amaka said, smiling and hoping to see joy in his eyes. But Nonso looked at her with a blank face and said, "Pregnant, and so? What does that help me now?" Amaka stood there in shock, her smile slowly fading. She felt like someone had poured cold water on her. Without saying a word, she turned around and walked to the bedroom. She placed her hand gently on her stomach and whispered, "Don't worry, my baby. You will still bring happiness even if your father doesn't care." She wiped away her tears and told herself to stay strong for the sake of the child growing inside her. Every morning, Noso still left the house for his shop, but instead of selling anything, he would sit down and sleep all day. When he returned home in the evening, tired and angry, he would pour all his frustration on Amaka. He would beat her, shout at her, and call her terrible names like witch and bad luck. "You are the reason my life is like this," he would yell. "You brought me nothing but suffering." Amaka would cry and cry until her eyes were red and dry. Her voice would shake with pain, but she never replied. Tears would fall from her cheeks until no more tears could come out. Nonso's friend Izuna kept visiting and talking to him. "Nonso, you are wasting your time maltreating her," Izuna would say. "She is the reason for your downfall. Stop polishing yourself. Send her away and see how things will turn around for you." Nonso would sigh and say quietly, "But she is carrying my child." Isola burst into a loud laughter. "Child? Nonso. Children never finish in a man," he said, shaking his head. "Send both her and that child away and regain your life first. Are you planning to stay poor forever just because of pregnancy?" Nonso sat quietly for a while, deep in thought. He bent his head slowly and muttered, "I will do just as you said." And with that decision, The night grew darker, for Amaka had no idea what was about to come next. 2 days later, Amaka became very sick. She was feeling weak and dizzy. All of a sudden, she felt something rise in her chest. She quickly ran outside to vomit, but as she bent down without knowing, she poured the vomit right on Noso's feet. Noso jumped up in anger. "You bastard! You witch!" he shouted. "How dare you vomit on my feet?" Amaka quickly knelt down, crying, "I am sorry, Noso. Please, it was a mistake. I didn't mean to." But Noso was already full of rage. Without thinking, he gave her a hot slap across the face. Amaka held her cheeks, tears running down her face as she cried. "Get out of my house," Noso shouted. "I don't want to see you here again. Please forgive me," Amaka begged. "I didn't do it on purpose. I am not feeling well." But Noso didn't listen. He stomped inside the house, opened the wardrobe, and started throwing out her clothes and bags one by one. He shouted from inside the room, "I said leave! Go anywhere you like. Just get out of my house now." Neighbors who heard the noise started gathering, but Noso didn't care. Amaka stood outside, confused and in pain, watching her life fall apart. Amaka carried her small bags and walked slowly down the street, crying. Her legs were shaking, and her whole body was shivering from fear and cold. Her heart was heavy, and her eyes were swollen from too much crying. People were passing by, but no one stopped to ask her what happened. Some women stood by the corner whispering and gossiping. Can you imagine? A beautiful girl like this, and the man still chased her away, even when she is pregnant, one said. But look at her condition now. Another one replied, shaking her head in pity. Still, none of them came close to help or even say sorry to her. Everyone just watched and talked. Amaka had no money with her, not even 1 naira. She kept walking until her legs couldn't carry her anymore. She found a small corner by the roadside, sat on the ground, and held her belly with both hands. Tears kept falling from her eyes. She cried and cried until no more tears came out. She felt empty, alone, and completely forgotten. Please subscribe and comment for part 2.